One of the very first things I can recall you saying to me, Dr. Corsi, is that Donald Trump always wins in the moment that it looks like he's about to lose. Welcome back to the show. And Mrs. Corsi, wonderful to see you again. How are you guys doing today?
Thank you.
We're doing great. We're doing very good.
We're very happy today.
Yeah, we're very happy that Donald Trump's acquitted, and I guess the Democrats are determined to self-destruct. That's one of the things we're going to discuss today. But we're very pleased to be with you, and it's terrific to see finally we get the acquittal. I always did say Donald Trump always looks like he's going to lose right up until the minute when he wins.
Right.
He always does. And so, that's his style. And he constantly looks like he's on the ropes. You're worried he's going to lose the election. He doesn't have a chance, and all of that goes on. And then suddenly he wins. And it's always a surprise. Everybody says, surprise victory. How did that happen? And all the rest of it. But
it's meant to be.
It is.
It's meant to be.
He has a lucky charm like that. He has an ability to kind of pull things out at the very last minute. And when he does, everybody's always shocked and always, saying this is a great victory and how did it happen? But if you watch the vote, I mean, I don't know if you saw the vote when Mitt Romney was the only one who stood up and said that he was voting on that one count for guilty. And I mean, I just couldn't believe that. I watched him give a speech in the Senate, and it just didn't seem to me like he was really, the resentment. He lost. He was beaten by Barack Obama, and so now all of a sudden, he finds himself that he can't support President Trump. It reminded me of John McCain.
Yeah. It seemed like a very stupid decision politically to side with the losers, didn't it?
Very much so. Very, very much so. And again, I just don't, know why he would do something like that unless he's got this kind of a self-destruction kind of impulse that he decided that he, last minute. I've always said, I always wondered why squirrels run in front of cars. But all they do is sit there. The one strategy, the only strategy the squirrel can do when the car's driving down the road is to run in front of it. Okay. And yet they always do. And so here, all Mitt Romney had to do was vote for acquittal. But no, he decided
to vote the other way.
He had to go and run across the road. And Monica, I think we're finding, the support for Trump among women and is really quite strong.
Yes, it really is changing a lot from what we started with. I think the speech today from our dear President Trump was fantastic. He was humble. He thanked everyone, which makes it very, very nice gesture on his part. He showed his hurt. He was really hurt by everything that happened. He stood strong. He said that maybe another president would have been broken through all this, and that doesn't mean he is a Superman, but he is really someone that can put up with a tough fight, and I do appreciate that of him, and his amazing, lovely, gorgeous, courteous, sweet wife that he has. And Melania is beautiful. She supports him in every which way, which I know what that is all about for what we went through. So I think the speech today was great. He is vindicated. He is a winner. He would always win. Even when he loses, he would always win. And I'm very happy for them, but for us, for all of us that believe in his work and what he's doing and what he's achieving and what's coming out of all his pain and hard work. So yeah, we're celebrating.
Monica's mother was named Melania.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And she's a beautiful woman. And
yeah, she was as beautiful. No, it's no good to compare. But for me, my mom, it was very beautiful, and her name was Melania. And this is the very first time that people actually pronounce it correctly, because many years ago, she became Melanie here because they couldn't pronounce her correctly.
It was Melania
Yeah.
and all kinds of variations.
Yeah.
And,
No, it's great.
Trump's family looked great. And yes, the whole family, we can attest to this. I mean, when we were under threat from Mueller, thank God that's all done. We're not going to be indicted. It's all over. But the whole family goes through
it's very difficult.
And Trump, I thought today, referred to that in his speech in the White House when he mentioned the families who lost money and General Flynn and Roger Stone, who's convicted, and all these sufferings. He's got Manafort in prison and Rick Gates, who is convicted. He pled guilty. I mean, these are tragedies in terms of nothing related to Russian collusion.
Right.
And I couldn't help but think of both of you when the president was speaking about the ordeal that his family went through, because it is remarkably similar. I mean, it's the same sort of tactic, really, this lawfare style attack, whether it's, in your case, Dr. Corsi, criminal prosecution from the DOJ and Robert Mueller's corrupt investigation, or even this criminal, non-legal process, this political process of impeachment. It's the same tactic.
And I thought today when Donald Trump was speaking about that, it was almost like he had our case and others in mind of all the people.
No, it really was. It really was.
I think so,
I mean, that's what he referred to. The people who lost a lot of money, he said, and also lost their homes or whatever. Thank God we haven't lost our home, but it has been a struggle, and thank to many of you out there that had helped. We thank you one more time. We always will, but we are recuperating. This year would be a recuperation from everything that had happened to us. Boy, it has not been easy, but I think there is a big recognition out there for all of us, and I'm saying us and the others that made it and didn't make it, what we went through. There is a recognition of all that hurt, yes.
And I'm fighting hard for General Flynn right now because I'm posting on Twitter very extensively, and I've known his attorney, Sidney Powell, for quite a while, and she's a brilliant attorney. She's done a great job, I think, with exposing the fact that the lawyers, he paid these lawyers, Covington and Burling, a Washington firm, $5 million. And they made the mistakes on the foreign agent registration form that ultimately was part of the charges that the Department of Justice Mueller wanted to bring against Flynn. And Covington, instead of admitting that it was their problem, they hid that, they lied, they covered it up. And then the Department of Justice had this Strzok and Piętka, who were the two agents who went over and interviewed General Flynn in the White House right after the inauguration. And it was an entrapment scheme. They knew, in fact, what
we're doing.
They went over there to trick him into and they came back and they wrote out their 302 saying he was telling the truth, and then they modified the 302 and lost the original. I mean, what General Flynn is petitioning is to have the criminal charges against him dropped, and I'm very much hoping he's going to win. And I'm waging a war on Twitter and on Facebook to let people know what he's gone through.
Yeah. Now, Dr. Corsi, I'm surprised that a law firm helmed by Eric Holder would be dishonest. That's such a shock to hear.
Well, John Bolton was part of that firm, Covington and Burling, as well.
Whoa.
These Washington firms get very cozy with the bureaucracy because it's a revolving door. People work in the Department of Justice or one of the other agencies, and they get involved in litigation as from the government point of view. Then when they retire, they go over to Covington and Burling or one of the other firms and start making millions of dollars defending clients from the agencies where they worked. And then when as a result, Covington and the other firms tend to settle a lot of these cases, but not always. They'll sell a client out just to get a favorable deal with the government and not to, rock the boat. And that's where these Washington firms, I think, are. I did not want to hire a Washington firm.
No. Well, we couldn't afford it either.
Couldn't afford it.
But, when we talked about it, we decided to go local with our own lawyer from town, pretty much.
He did a great job.
And
David Gray.
Superb.
And then Nancy Pelosi rips up the State of the Union. I mean, what a disgrace.
That was absolutely disgraceful.
We were watching it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I mean, if you were in front of the TV watching, it was very compelling what, President Trump was saying, all the numbers, the victory and everything. But then you had this woman in the background with all the facial gestures that really confused. I mean, you didn't know what to do, whether to look at her or to listen to him. And it was just so annoying.
And she kept fiddling with the papers and making these faces all the way through.
And talking, I don't know whether she was trying to talk to Vice President Pence or was she talking to herself?
Right.
It was
she lost
so
her
disturbing to watch.
But she's ripping those papers while the speech was getting them ready. I mean, this was premeditated.
Yeah.
So I think it's very sad. And the one thing I always refer back to, I love children and I love youth. And what kind of an example are we giving these children by these actions, though? I mean, what kind of generation is coming up? What do they think that the norm would be? Is there any respect anymore for anybody or anything? Or, we're talking about the President of the United States. This is not a little thing. And, to have someone, in the background doing that, not only for here is a disgrace, but again, it's another laugh for, anyone around the world. I think it's really, really bad.
Yeah, it makes the United States look terrible. It's disrespectful to the bipartisan nature of what's supposed to be going on there at the State of the Union. Everybody's heard that Nancy Pelosi didn't introduce the president properly. There was some debate as to whether or not Trump specifically snubbed her by not shaking her hand, or if that was just sort of the way it worked out. The biggest thing that I'm concerned with, and I'm curious to see what the two of you feel about this, people have speculated that by ripping that speech, Nancy Pelosi may have been destroying House records, violating a federal statute. Some people have said, no, it was just a copy. Other people have said it was an official document. What will happen as a result of that, Dr. Corsi?
Well, there's some movement to try to bring a case against Nancy Pelosi for destroying records. I doubt if that's going to go. I don't think you're going to get
I think it's more moral than anything else.
I think the moral issue is, I agree. I mean, when Monica and I were watching it, first of all, it was very moving. All the Tuskegee airman who was 100 years old.
Yes, I mean, what a disaster to actually not even care. Even in some of those cases when he presented, she didn't get up. She didn't get up for them. I mean, so she doesn't approve any of it, doesn't like it, doesn't care.
Right.
I mean, what kind of a...
Nadler said that the speech was disgusting, essentially calling all of the people that President Trump honored during the speech also disgusting. I don't understand how the disgusting Jerome Nadler could say that.
Well, yeah, I mean, how about the girl who got the scholarship to go through it?
Well, and how about the grandfather with the child? Did you see that child's face? The admiration for his grandfather? I mean, how immense is that? And how wonderful, to be presenting this to the world. I mean, it's really... And
she's there playing politics, with the ACT UP. I mean, you wouldn't let your child behave like that. I mean, it's like a disgrace. She's really disgracing herself.
Yes,
that's the child who got the school scholarship, which and she was a really a precious little child, and
Yeah, the look of
you know,
joy
and
on her face was so authentic
oh,
when the president. And the thing is, at that exact moment, I was thinking, is this a little too obvious that he's like pandering to the black community and giving? But the moment that saved it for me was when he said now he challenges Congress to do this for a million students. And I was like, now that's brilliant, because he's setting an example. He's not just giving money to one person. He's saying this is what we should be doing. I thought it was masterful. I know, Dr. Corsi, you told me again in that first meeting that you've been following politics since you're about 5 years old. So we're coming up on 70 years that you've been following this. Have you ever seen a State of the Union that was so emotionally captivating and so positive overall?
in fact, Monica and I were talking about that because I think what Trump has managed to do is he's combined reality TV with the State of the Union, and he's made this a living experience. I mean, you see people who are affected by what he's talking about, and it's just
not painting the picture, but it's bringing it to reality. He's showing you. It's not just telling you. These are witnesses. These are the people that he is helping. And, one of the things that bother me a lot is every time he announced one of his, achievements, Nancy Pelosi is making all these faces in the back. It's so atrocious. This is really, if she doesn't agree, she doesn't have to agree. No one says that everybody has to agree with his policies. We did not agree with other presidents' policies, and that was okay. But, the respect has to be there, and especially in the moment that they were,
Well, in the military, I mean, it's a rule in the military. You salute the office, not the officer.
Right.
And if you don't like the officer, that's fine, but you still have to respect the office of the presidency. And the idea that they are so in this ideologically driven politics, it's almost like a propaganda-driven they can't be challenged. So the Democrats are going to say only if it's their themes that, what about when Obama was president? I mean, we all, you still have to respect the office of the presidency. You can criticize the policies, you can criticize the person, but, you still have to salute the flag and it's still the president of the United States who's due respect.
And we didn't hate him. Never did. We respected him just like we do.
Well, I criticized Obama strongly.
Of course.
And raised issues about
you never said I hate Obama.
No, I never.
No.
I never did. And I don't hate Obama. I mean, I disagree with his policies, but at the same point, the Democrats are not going to give the same level of respect to Donald Trump.
Well, there is such a resentment and such a hatred in some of them that they can't divide, leave that at home and behave, appropriate, at their level. They can't do it.
After the failure, I mean, the debacle in the Iowa caucuses, which was being put by DNC is Tom Perez, who was former La Raza, and when he was in the Department of Justice in the office of the, basically conduct, he was all over Sheriff Arpaio for, charging civil rights violations in the enforcement of laws on stop and frisk and stop and all kinds of the, police actions against the Hispanic community. Well, now clearly no one wants any discrimination in these police activities, but at the same time, I think Arpaio had some pretty good defenses, and the targeting of Arpaio was, again, the La Raza politics of ideology, which you see dominating the Democratic Party. Now, the inability to run the caucuses in such a mess, and Buttigieg, I mean...
Well, let me pause you there, Dr. Corsi, because we'll get into the details on these matters when we begin our sponsor-exclusive show in just about 10 minutes on patreon.com/Jerome Corsi. patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, and both of our channels on Subscribestar. You know, I apologize to the viewers of the Jerome Corsi YouTube channel. There's a persistent problem there that Dr. Corsi and I will have to troubleshoot offline. I'm not sure why the simulcast isn't working, but we'll be back in just 10 minutes with our sponsor exclusive show, and that will be ready to go. I want to thank Monica Corsi for joining us today, and I know that Mrs. Corsi and Dr. Corsi have big plans for the future, multilingual broadcasts, and all kinds of things that are going to be happening in 2020 as we move towards November. So we'll see you very soon in 10 minutes over on Patreon and Subscribestar, Doctor, and thank you everyone for watching.
And CorsiNation.com, which is now being under revision, will be up and operational again in a new format very quickly. We're working on it very hard.
Couple of weeks or so. We'll let you know. And thank you for having me again. I think you both are enjoying me here.
Yeah, I think it makes the show a lot more fun.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
See you soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.